Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of episode 61 of The Green Life. We carry on our conversation with the amazing Dr. Elizabeth. Last week we left you with a little cliffhanger about self-love and how you see your body image, how you live in your body and not comparing to others. And today we carry on that conversation and then some more, but with Dr. Elizabeth really sharing amazing wisdom through her journey, but also the work she does with people. She coaches people to become their best version, and one of the things that she recommends is to make sure you never compare yourself to others, so you have the space to live in your body and really enjoy your body. Now, I'm really excited about going deeper into this because I'm sure a lot of my listeners really need it, as I actually do always thrive when I listen to this beautiful wisdom that just reminds me not to be violent to my body, as I've been for so many years, and really love it. Now, I want to just give a big shout out to Nama Well for the J2 juicer, of course, a beautiful juicer that I really love juicing with because it makes cold pressed juices. I can do it in bulk. And if you are on the market for a new one, please go into the show notes and grab your 10%. I do not make any money out of this. I just ask them to share a code, and they also gifted me a juicer, so this is as far as it goes. And as for my farm in northern Portugal, it's open for the summer, so if you are traveling and want to come and visit, check out the link in the show notes as well, so you can see what's going on. And if you want to come and stay, you just have to shoot us an email and I'll get back to you. All right, back to the episode. Let's dive deeper into the conversation we're having last week. Welcome back, Dr. Elizabeth. Hello, Dr. Elizabeth. Okay, we are on part 2. How are you today?
Bonjour, ça va bien?
Ça va très bien, merci.
Oh, merci, toi aussi.
Et vous?
Moi aussi.
Perfect.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Really, I was looking forward to it.
Me too. We had such a good chat last time, and I love that we are doing a 2 parts because I think there is a lot for people to digest and really think over. And so we left them with a little cliffhanger about and owning who you are and not comparing yourself to others. So we're gonna start there because that was where you were going with your beautiful example, Romy versus Serena or Venus Williams. And so I love to start from there, and then we're just gonna go a little bit more into this body positivity, which I think is a very good subject to tap into. And you obviously represent that in a very positive way, in a good way. So I love to discuss a little bit more. But yeah, take me through that no comparing.
Well, it's interesting. It's something that I had to learn myself. And when I got that, especially for women, because a lot of times women they feel a lot of judgment about how they look. And there's an expectation about in society, even to the point of like, to me, this is so crazy. What look is in style right now? That seems so silly to me. And then someone else comes along and has the courage to own who they are, and then their look is in style. And it's just so silly. So if we just begin to own our own appearance and it's the appearance, but it's the energy underneath the appearance. I've said this before, but you take 2 identical twins. They're physically exactly identical. One's radiating like great energy, beauty, self-love, self-acceptance, and radiating that. The other is radiating the antithesis of that. They're going to look different, no matter if you dress them in the same, put their hair the same, the exact same makeup on them. They won't look the same. They won't. So the essence of what's coming through us is a lot of what makes us attractive. And I'm sure when people are dating, they recognize that. They'll meet somebody, and then that person I always say you have to have that chemistry. You have to have that initial attraction. I think that's very important. But then as you get to know them, as their own essence comes through, you're like, ooh, like you find yourself like this, like it's really pulled towards them, or the opposite. You're like, I don't care how cute they are. This isn't cute. This is not attractive to me. So it's that essence. So let's talk about a comparison. So if we have, these are 2 extreme examples. One is Romy, who's Victoria's Secret's angel. Probably, maybe some people know who she is. She's like literally almost 5'12". She's super tall, very, very thin, long, just very long and very, very thin. And she's beautiful. She's beautiful. And her beauty is, she has a lot of internal beauty as well. But if someone were to look at her and compare themselves, I'll use myself as an example. I will never be 5'11" or 5 foot, whatever she's 5'11", 5'10", something like that. I'm 5'4" and a fourth. I will never be 5'11", and I will never be straight up and down. If I lost all the weight in the world, I'm never going to look straight up and down. I have curves. It's who I am. It's my size. So if I tried to be over here, if I looked at Romy and said, I need to be that, I want to be that, and compared myself to that, one, I would miss out on owning the beauty that God gave me and what is actually me. And also, it's not even that. Comparison makes us feel badly about ourselves, as if there was something wrong with us for the way we were born and the way that we look. And a lot of times this is propagated in the household, unfortunately. That's what happened to me in my household. A lot of times it's propagated in society. You don't look a certain way. If the ideal is voluptuous and large in your society or in your community, and you are not that, you can be made to feel badly that I'm not that. There must be something inherently wrong with me, which leads the person down this path of these living and unfortunately owning these false beliefs of I'm not good enough, I'm not enough, there's something inherently wrong with me. Or it can be done in community, it can be done in society, it can be done in the media, it can be done a lot of different ways. So if I'm comparing myself, not only am I never going to get 5'11" and stick thin, I will or having that kind of look or beauty, I'll never be able to own me. I'll be feeling badly that I'm not that. So then on the opposite side over here, let's just pick Serena Williams, who's just a goddess. I think she's just stunning in every single way. She's a goddess on and off the court. And so she's very voluptuous. She's a very strong body. I will never be that. In fact, the reason I picked her is because I dated a guy, and that was his ideal. He liked me, but that was his. He kept saying, well, if we just get you to gain a little. And I finally he said, you look like Serena Williams. And I said, but I'm not Serena Williams. I said, that much more on my frame wouldn't be, one, I wouldn't be comfortable in my body at that size. And two, it doesn't serve me. It serves her tremendously. And she looks spectacular she's her ideal size, shape, and form. But on my frame and on me, it's not going to work. So if I compared myself over there, or let this man tell me I'm not good enough because I'm not that, needless to say, we're no longer dating.
I was going to say, did you tell him to try and go and date her?
Well, what I told him is that I'm not that, and I'm not interested in being that because it doesn't suit. And it was funny because one of the things I do is, as a dancer, I think I might have told you this, I get lifted in the air. My dance partner is spinning in the air, and I slide down their body, and they lift me and throw me about. And it would be much more difficult for them and me if they did that, if I was that size. It's not to say you can't, because there's a lot of girls that size that do that. But in my body, it's not going to feel good. It's not going to be good. And then I wouldn't be comfortable in it. So I told him, thank you, no, thank you. This is casually dating, and I was just like, no, that's not going to work. You can go find someone that is your ideal that you want, but I'm happy with where I am. And thank God at the time already, I was happy with where I am, that I was able to say thanks, but no thanks. Mm-hmm. But you can see, if I compared over here, as gorgeous as Serena is, or you can compare, there's a lot of beautiful girls who are curvy like that. That's not me either. So if I'm trying to be that, I'm missing out on the opportunity to be this and own this as much as I can. And so I think more than anything, to be able to own it from the standpoint of when we are able to own who we are and express that, then what happens is, watch, now we're going to take our beautiful self, everybody who's watching, you can fill in, this is you. When you begin to own yourself, your ideal size, shape, and form, your ideal, whatever that is, it's a healthiest version of you there. Now what happens, watch this, as you begin to own this, the energy starts vibrating and attracting. And then what happens is you can attract exactly what you're looking for and exactly what you want and exactly what is your right match when you're owning. But if let's say this person is here and they're comparing over here to Romy, you're comparing over here to Serena, they're not owning this. So this man or woman or whoever their ideal partner would be looking for the radiance of them can walk by a million times, won't see it because it's not on. It's like my lights are on and my lights are on here for our recording. If the lights weren't on, you can't see. So it's like when the light's on, when the radiance is there, that which wants to come to you, work opportunities, love opportunities, friendship opportunities can all come to you when you're owning all of who you are.
Yeah, I love that. I don't know if you want to share, would you mind sharing? You said in your household, you would may feel like you were not, your body wasn't good enough. And I can relate to that. And I'd love to hear what your experience was.
Absolutely. So I'm going to share the story and I will, let me see how I want to preface this. I'm just going to share the story. And as we go, I'll share the information that gets downloaded. So my mother is beautiful. She was a beautiful Italian woman. And she was straight up and down. Now, she was only she was the same height as me. We were all around the same height. But she was she looked like one of the supermodels, straight up and down. And that's what my father found very physically attractive. And so when I was 12, 13, started actually, because I had the same body. If you go look on my Instagram, my body now is the exact same size it was not only 30 years ago, but when I was a teenager, which was like almost a half a century ago. Actually, was it 50 years ago, half a century ago? My body is the same as it was a half a century ago, which is crazy when you say it like that. It seems kind of crazy. But your face. Your face said a multitude of words that nothing came out of your mouth, but your face said it all.
This is a blooper.
So we have to tell them what just happened. Okay, is it okay if I tell them? So I'm going on with my story. I'm getting the downloads. I'm really enjoying the downloads that I'm getting from Spirit and talking. All of a sudden, I look at Chantel's face, and she goes like white, and we hear recording stopped, and she was just like. And we're laughing because the reason this is a part 2 is because we were plagued by technical difficulties round 1 and finally had to give up and say, we have to do a part 2. But we will persevere. We will persevere. We will not let technology get the best of us.
My abs are sore from laughing. Oh boy. Okay.
We are two little bunnies. We are not going to give up.
So technology was trying to get me worked up. Basically, you were saying your mother was a beautiful woman and your dad was attracted to that. And when you started developing in your puberty, what happened?
So I started getting curvy. Oh, and then I was saying about falsamada, which is falsamada is a great Brazilian phrase that I love. And I learned it in the movie Eat, Pray, Love. And I just loved it so much, falsamada, which is, it's like out further away, you look kind of long and slender. Then up close, you look boom, you're all curvy. Mm-hmm. And so my body is a little bit like that. And I was just growing into my own self and owning that. And my father started saying, and literally I was maybe even a little smaller than I am right now, because I've gotten I have a little more muscle than I have because I've been working out. But I was really like 105 pounds. I was small. And he started saying, you're getting fat. And it was, and so a lot of things happened. But the point is, and here's the thing, God bless him. He he didn't do it maliciously. He was unconscious. And that's the thing, like one of the reasons we teach, especially young people, but especially young women, to own their self-love, self-worth, self-confidence, and self-esteem is because a lot of times it wasn't given. And it's his own programming. It was based on the ways he didn't like himself or like certain things. And so it had nothing to do with me. And so it took me a little bit of time to own that. It's funny because I came to LA, and when I came to LA, it's much more multicultural here. I grew up in a very small town in Wisconsin, right outside of Milwaukee, that was very cookie cutter in the way everybody kind of looked. Then I came to LA and everybody was like, wow. And I was like, you mean you like this? And they're like, oh, we like this a lot. And so it really helped me to begin to go, oh, okay, I can take ownership. And what we really want to do is we don't want to wait till we get that validation. Like along the way, I was already doing a lot of work on myself and owning who I was, what I was. But I did come to LA. I came here for college. So quite early on. And so I realized, oh my God, thank God I didn't, take that on any more than I did. And I did a lot of healing work on that and to be able to own who I am. So it's, I think for parents, we have to be really careful that we don't project our own stuff, to heal our stuff as much as possible and not project it onto the children, because it can be really harmful, especially to young girls. If somebody's something at a very impressionable age, it can be very detrimental to them. And that's how eating disorders are birthed. It's how a lot of lack of self-love or self-confidence is birthed. Then what happens is, as you fast, let's talk for a second with women, young girls first. You fast forward that, and then now their self-love, self-worth, self-confidence, and self-esteem takes a hit. They're less likely to own their sense of confidence and their sense of worth. So then when they begin to date, if they're dating with that false belief in their picture, they're going to have much more detrimental experiences with young boys being sexually active too early if they don't really, really want to, or they're not ready for it, but they feel badly about themselves. They're trying to seek the love that they didn't get an approval from the father. All of this, now this spirals, especially young girls. This can happen to boys too, but especially young girls, spirals them down a very dangerous path. And that's not healthy at all.
No. So. And how did your mom support you through that? Well, because normally, like in my experience, it was my mother that was projecting her lack of self-esteem, her eating disorders on me. And I did exactly what you just said, right? I had anorexia, I had bulimia, I had everything in between, binging, starving, working out 2 hours a day, no self-love, no self-confidence, people pleasing. I mean, you name it. And
all the coping mechanisms.
All the coping mechanisms, except that I didn't know that I was doing that, right? And
most girls don't know that. Yeah. Most don't know that. So did your mother struggle with all those things?
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
So instead of being able to own that, she had too much. What I'm seeing is she had a lot of shame about it. So she felt shame herself. Then along comes her baby girl. So instead of owning it, clearing her shame, doing her healing work and clearing the shame around it, what she did was she threw all that shame into your space.
Yeah, I mean, she was a child when she had me. She was 18. She wasn't ready to be a mom.
No,
she wasn't. That's actually one of the things that I spoke in the podcast about. My story and my relationship with my mother is fractured because she's not working on herself. And she's in a state of victimism that sadly has created a relationship being I'm the mom and she's the child. And that's not a good relationship to have. That's not balanced. And when I started, not healthy for me. And when I started recognizing that, and when I started working on that, she wasn't happy because I was actually confronting her with this reality and being like, this cannot go on. We cannot do this. You have to be a mom. Like there is a line, there's a hierarchy for a reason. And this hierarchy is out of control. Like I'm above you. My mom is my grandmother. Like that's just out of proportion. It's not good. And but she's not ready to work on herself. There's a lot of pride, there's a lot of suffering, there's a lot of stuff that is going on that prevents her from taking those steps. But because I have been doing it, that relationship is just not going to work. So but a lot of these things that you're mentioning now, they came really to me after. And, in my 30s, when I started working, and even more now that I'm going deeper into even the spiritual work, that's when it's coming up. But for me, so I was wondering, obviously, with your dad saying that, because my dad obviously wasn't part of that per se, anyway, consciously or directly, but he was kind of facilitating. What about your mom? Because your mom obviously must have seen how your dad was saying things to you. Did she take any part in trying to share any wisdom?
It's a great question, but I keep getting downloads. Can I share something for you with the relationship with your mom? Are you okay with that? Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Because I think it would serve a lot of people, because this happens to a lot of people, where we wake up and we do our expansion. And because even though there's difficulties with the parental relationships or family relationships, there's still family. So a lot of times we will want to take our energy and try to rescue them. And what happens is it's not healthy at all. Are you okay being able to do a separation, hold your own space, grow, and then with your mother have to put up healthy boundaries to say, you don't have to go on your healing journey, but you're invited to go on your healing journey, but I can no longer be part of the codependence and supporting you're not doing your own growth.
Yeah, perfectly said. And the truth is, she doesn't have boundaries. And so because I have boundaries in place, again, this cannot work. I would have loved to say, let me just keep boundaries in place so that we can at least have a relationship at some kind of level. But because she doesn't understand boundaries,
she keeps pulling.
She doesn't understand, right? When it's too much, and that goes wrong. And so there's a lot of conflict that is exhausting, and it's not really worth having, because it's loops that I'm not willing to go into anymore,
So first, congratulations. A lot of people are going to hear this, and a lot of people are going to have a lot of judgments about it, but it's really good we're talking about this, because it's the healthiest self-loving thing you can do for yourself, is to set your own boundaries and put up a line. And so since she can't respect that, and she keeps jumping in your space and spiraling around, you being able to say, which I'm really so proud of you to do, the way you're modeling this, you being able to say, it's okay for me that we have a separation and that we're not in each other's lives right now. It's okay. And then it's on her to be able to find her way back to a healing or not. But you're in your own space. Otherwise, you go into codependence. And like you say, it keeps looping. It keeps looping and looping. It's like the person, it's like she will keep pulling you down from your own growth and expansion if you had let her. So, and it's not an easy thing to do, because even in difficult relationships, we love our family. It's what we grew up with our family. And there's a lot of times a need and a want to have to. I did this a lot, where I woke up a lot more than everyone else in my family, and I wanted to bring them along, and they didn't want to come along. So there were times in my life where I had to have a separation. I had to keep growing, do my own life. And what you'll find, and I see this a lot with people, is almost always there's a full circle. At some point, there's a full circle where at some point they wake up a little bit. They have tremendous respect for you and the journey you've been on, and they're able to take a little bit of ownership, and you're able to actually mend a little bit. But you not jumping over into that space and trying to rescue them is the best thing that you can do.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if you noticed this, but if you don't do this, if you don't create that separation, I feel that even if you're growing, when you are in certain situations with certain people, those whole bad habits of your behavior come back, and then you realize that that's not the person you want to be. And
well, it's interesting you say that. Oh, go ahead, finish your sentence.
No, that's exactly, yeah.
Interesting you're saying that. And you want to know why? Because we're, like we said, we're lightning rods for energy. And when we hold our own space for self-love, self-worth, self-confidence, and self-esteem up here, that which is down here, and we set a boundary for ourselves with love. Like you can say, like I did with my father, like you did with your mother, I love you. I love you. I appreciate the gift of life you gave me. I appreciate everything you gave me. And because of the way things are, I'm setting a boundary. If and when you're able to behave in a way that is respectful and in a way that is, you name your thing, you name whatever it is you need, you're more than welcome in my space. But until then, there has to be this boundary. And they're going to fuss, they're going to get mad, they're going to call you all sorts of names, they're going to be upset. Or sometimes they'll just get quietly, kind of like quietly jabbing you energetically or whatever they're doing. But you're vibrating up here and it's not going to pull you. But if you keep bringing this in, if you bring yourself down to here and you keep allowing this, what happens is now you are a lightning rod for every other person who behaves just like that you're trying to get away from. So you're not going to manifest what it is you want. You're going to manifest more of what you don't want because you don't have the capacity to take, not you, but the person who that choice doesn't have the capacity to take a stand for who they are and for their own self-love, self-worth, self-confidence, and self-esteem. Own that and stay up here. They come back down here and try to rescue codependence. They're circling in their own codependence, and their life becomes a reflection in all areas of health, wealth, love, and career. It becomes that because that's where you set the barometer. That's where you set the thermostat, as opposed to up here. It's not easy to do, as you know. It's not easy to do this. But when you do it, I remember when I did it with my father. In fact, I told my mom I hadn't gone back for holidays for a while. My mom said, please come back, please come back. So I did. And I said, if dad misbehaves, be it Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, the day before, the day afterwards, however many days I was going to be there, if he doesn't take responsibility, because he just wouldn't take responsibility. If he doesn't take responsibility for what he did, I'm going to have to go. And nobody had ever taken a stand. He was kind of like the dominant in the whole household, dominating everything, and everybody was scared. And so I remember I was probably maybe in my 30s when this happened, around in late 30s, something like that, I think. And sure enough, something happened, did something that was just really not great. And I said, this happened. I said, I can't be around this energy. Either you can, take responsibility and apologize for that, or it's your home, it's your rules. I respect that. I understand that, but I'll have to go. And he had never apologized for anything as long as in our whole lives. And my sisters were just like, everybody was like, my mom was like this. Everybody was kind of shocked that I stood up to the grizzly bear. And so he kind of got angry and he walked away. And then went to my sisters and my mom and I said, I'm going to have to leave. I didn't want to, but I took a stand for myself. And all of a sudden he walked in the door and he said, Elizabeth, can I talk to you? And my eyes got as big as saucers. And my sister's eyes got even bigger than that. And my mom was shocked. And we went and we sat. And he apologized. And not only did he apologize, he said, I was raised by a very abusive man. And I haven't known anything different. And we actually had a huge breakthrough and an opening in the relationship, which is actually quite miraculous. And we have a much better relationship now. Over the years, we've developed a much better relationship. But I wouldn't say it's ideal, but it's way better than it was before. But taking that stand, even though it was really scary for me to do, is really very powerful. And when we do that, so when I did that, when I was able to do that there, everything else in my life was able to open up. All the places where I had been struggling in a lot of areas of my life were able to open up once I took a stand for myself there. So,
yeah. In fact, you said your 30s is when you kind of changed a little bit, started changing your direction, right?
Exactly. I started doing all the things I wanted to do and loved to do, started to, let go of some of the things I didn't want to do, all of that. Yeah. So that's exactly when it was.
Amazing.
So I would say to anybody listening, let's see how I want to say this lesson. To anybody listening, the best first step is to have the courage to set your own boundaries. And if the person, like my father, if the person that you're dealing with is physically like violent, like scary, like where it's life threatening or anything like that. You don't want to go over there and do what I did, because that would just not be safe. But what you do is you take a stand for yourself and you say, I'm no longer going to have this in my life. Be it an abusive boyfriend, be it an abusive relationship with a parent, whatever that is, you take a stand and say, I'm setting a boundary for myself. I'm no longer willing to have that in my life. I'm going to stay over here in my energy space and give myself the distance.
Yeah.
Say it's safe to do that. And if it is a very dangerous situation, you can always, I invite everybody to get the help that they need. If it is a dangerous situation in some way, or life-threatening or very violent, that you get the assistance you need to take the stand you need. But what happens, I'm hearing it's really important for me to share this. What happens, remember we talked about this young girl. It could be a boy, it could be a girl, it could be anybody. But they grew up in an environment where it's to some degree not life enhancing. So they begin to build up these false beliefs of, the main false beliefs I see are, I'm not good enough, I'm not deserving, I'm not worthy, I can't have this. So what happens is that they're way down here, way, way, way. So they think I can't begin. The other thing that happens, I see with my private practice, is that the secondary energy that comes in that's really challenging is they begin to think, I must have done something wrong. It's my fault I'm like this. It's my fault I'm fat, or it's my fault that I don't look the way I'm supposed to look. It's my fault. Like, they take this on because at the time when the parents, or it could be society, it could be community, it could be school, it could be bullies, it could be older siblings, it could be younger siblings, it could be anybody. But when that's thrown in your space, what also happens is that person takes on that energy of, there must be something wrong with me, and I did this. If I was just, and this is where all the coping mechanisms come in. If I was just perfect enough, if I was just skinny enough, if I was just pretty enough, if I was just quiet enough, if I could just please enough, if I could just go out of my way, if I could, as you can see, all of these layers of false persona that get put on because the authentic self wasn't able to be expressed. So what happens is now this poor person, boy or girl, is all the way over here and probably into their 20s and feeling like, why can't I have the career I want? Why can't I have the love I want? Why do I keep getting involved in these relationships? Why can't I have the friends that I want? And a lot of the other coping mechanisms that get layered on is once you get into your later teenage years and 20s, now alcohol gets layered on. Of course, pretty early on, food gets layered on. All these coping mechanisms to deal with the pain of, I don't feel enough, so let me go to a party, let me drink so much alcohol. Now I feel free. Or people doing drugs, which is, I'm just going to do these drugs because I feel like my real self when I do the drugs, because their false beliefs are keeping them from feeling like their real self naturally. So the alcohol is just a facade. Instead, if we can clear those false beliefs, those coping mechanisms, those negative programming, clear that out, what happens is that person naturally begins to be the authentic person they were born to be, shining their light and being bright, being beautiful, doing all the things they love and want to do, having the courage to bring in the people they want to bring in, just by clearing all that out. But the coping mechanisms, layering, it's literally like, if this is the diamond, the coping mechanism is like layering layers of dirt and poo over you. It makes them feel safe and protected, but it doesn't connect them to themselves.
Yeah.
Really,
oh my gosh.
I see people going and doing ayahuasca and I just cringe. And it's like, oh, it gave me this opening. It gave me all this. It's so dangerous. I had a girlfriend who went to Peru to do ayahuasca. She was blind and paralyzed in her tent for a week. Can you imagine? To put yourself at that kind of risk, taking a substance, even though they say it's natural, to try to get a hold of yourself, connect on yourself, when all you have to do are these simple techniques to just connect with yourself and have the courage to do the healing journey to clear out what's been layered in there that is really holding you from being your ideal self.
You're the second person who mentions how we have to work through our struggles and grow in a sober state. There is I don't remember his name, but it was an interview with a couple, both are beautiful. So Marco and Juliana have this podcast, and they interviewed this a yogi slash guru, and he was saying, a lot of people are promoting and making psychedelic very popular and very trendy, and a lot of people are doing it. So many people are doing it, but they are trying to find the opening. They're trying to find the light, that the higher self, with substances that then wear off, and then when they go back they have to do more and more and more, instead of actually realizing that it's a hard path that you have to go through. It's like going through the mud and then knowing that you've done it, and then at the end you clean and you get out of the mud and you can walk freely. And that requires effort and sacrifice and facing maybe your worst self at some point.
And I say what I would say it requires, instead of requiring suffering and sacrifice, what it just really requires is willingness and courage. Is what
yeah, you're right. I guess for me, it's, we face it. We face that pain, right?
It's the fight that makes it so challenging once we actually surrender into it.
Yeah.
So you put up a ton of good points that I would love to talk about. It's how I see it is, inside of us is the stuff that the whole universe is made of. Stars and galaxies and the entire light of the universe is in us. So what happens is that here we sit with all of that in us. And then what we do, I'll just take my phone for an example. So the phone's outside of us, but here we sit. And all we have to do is have the courage and the willingness to go within and start on this journey. And what I have learned with the people that I work with, literally from the very first session I do with them, they feel 1,000,000 times better. And the journey, it doesn't have to be difficult. It really doesn't. You just have to have the courage and the willingness. But what happens is that there's a reason why we push those feelings down to begin with, which is what most people do, shove them down because they feel so horrible. So they're so terrified of these horrible feelings that no, I can't feel that again. I can't. So let me just numb myself up so I don't feel. But here, I talk about this in my book. If these are all the feelings on the emotional scale, from bliss and joy and sheer delight and love and all of that, to depression, anxiety, fear, doubt, all of those energies. When you push that, they're all connected on a rod. So if you push down here, you're not just shoving this down. What happens is
everything.
Now you've numbed your joy. You've numbed. And so many people who come to see me say, Dr. Elizabeth, I have all this stuff. I have all this. I have all that. I can't feel my life. I can't feel it because they've been trying to reach outside of themselves or numb themselves to try to get in touch with the sheer joy. So what I teach them how to do is go in to access that which is infinite and extraordinary, that is actually within us. It's kind of like everybody's trying to reach out here. Let's just say, we're going to use finance for an example. Let's just say as ourselves, we're sitting on all the abundance in the entire universe. Just all the gold, all the riches, all of it. We're sitting on a chest of it. Let's just say we're sitting ourselves down and we're sitting on an entire chest of it. And most people not realizing it or not being able to learn how to access it are going, I'm hungry, I'm poor, I'm this, I'm that. And what they do is they're reaching out, trying to get all this stuff, not realizing if they just take a moment to unlock what they're sitting on, all the riches. And I don't just mean in form of wealth, health, wealth, love, and your perfect self-expression come flooding through us if we're clean enough and clear enough and willing and courageous enough to go within. So what happens is we have to realize, I really want to tell people this. that which shamed us, that which knocked us out, that which caused the false beliefs, made us feel badly about ourselves, made us feel like we were wrong, made us feel like we were bad, made us feel like all of this. That which is that doesn't even belong to us. It never did. So what happens is that when I take out my Dr. Elizabeth hose and start going, are you willing? And they say, so someone comes to me and says, Dr. Elizabeth, I want to work with you. Okay. Are you willing? Are you open to the possibility of doing this? Yes. Can you step into your courage? Can you be on this courageous journey? Yes. So then when I do, all right, let's go, take out the hose and we start cleaning them off. And what happens is the diamond starts emerging and it's bright and beautiful and shining. Then every aspect of their life becomes, it's like, oh my God, this is a miracle. My clients call me their secret weapon. They say, you give me access to my superpower, but this is what the superpower is. The superpower isn't something I give them. I'm just teaching them how to access that superpower, which is, well, every one of us is born with it. It's the eternal. It's the infinite. It is the divine that is in us, that is seeking to come through us. And when we clear out all of the negative programming, the false beliefs, all the coping mechanisms laid on, but most people will hang on to those for life. I can't possibly let go of the alcohol. I can't possibly let go of the fear. I can't possibly let go of this spinning in my head that I'm doing. A lot of people use overanalyzing as a coping mechanism. I see that a lot. And they say, I can't let go of that because they feel like if they do, they're going to drop into the abyss and die. Opposite is what happens. You let go of that and you actually start to live.
I mean, you didn't mention ego, but this is what the ego does. It gets attached to things that it can rationalize, right? And I wonder, sorry.
Go ahead. No, ask your question. Go ahead. Ask your question.
I wonder, you doing your amazing work in a place like LA where there is a lot of ego because of the way that the culture has developed there. You know, it's the home of Hollywood and a lot of celebrities, the wannabes. I mean, it's non-stop. I mean, I enjoyed visiting, but it was a bit overwhelming for me. I was like, I'm definitely happier with the cows and the sheep in the mountain.
I understand. So go ahead. So your question is,
how do they feel when they come to you, like having to kind of let go of the ego so that they can find themselves and they can let go of things like alcohol and possessions and, you know, valuing them in a different way rather than being attached to them because it almost gives them worth?
So I would language it in a different way because the ego, some people think of the ego as a villain, and we have to actually define what the ego is. How I use it is what I help them let go of is unconsciousness and a lack of awareness. So we have spirituality and we have the physicality. That's kind of like the ego self and then the greater self. But we've chosen to we're spiritual beings having a physical experience. Because I've seen, Amma, the hugging saint's a perfect example. She's really kind of abandoned the physical completely. She's beautiful, but her body is suffering from all sorts of things because she really is not much in the body. And she's amazing in so many ways, but that's kind of the extreme of letting go. But I feel like for just somebody a human being who's decided to come in, their spiritual being having a human incarnation, they can own a sense of self. But what we want to let go of, see all this posturing that's happening here in LA, and LA really is the home of it. I'll agree with you. All of that posturing is lack of self-love, is lack of self-confidence. It is unconsciousness. It's the behavior of, look at me, how all of this, I'm better than you. All of this kind of thing is all unconscious behavior. I know some people who are actually genuine, wonderful actors who are in Hollywood. They want nothing to do with that stuff. And all that behavior of I'm this and I'm that and all that kind of crap, they want nothing to do with that. They're actually owning their authentic selves. So what I would say is we don't want to completely I don't use the word ego in my work, but if we were, I would call it self. We don't want to completely get rid of the self. We want to actually begin to own the self. We want to begin to actually own the self. We want to let go of unconscious behavior. So the alcohol is unconscious behavior. Alcohol knocks you out really fast. Food will knock you out really. TV will knock you off really, really fast. Unconscious shopping, unconscious sex, like just not just random sexaholic, that will knock you off really. Talking about other people will knock you out really, really fast. So people are doing this. People who do these kinds of things are underneath it really in pain. In fact, a lot of times I did a wonderful interview with a really lovely girl, Esme, and we were talking about, that did come up, something about people's glow up. But no amount, like you see this especially on Instagram, and people will really go to the extremes in changing their physical appearance and things like that. And what happens is that a lot of times they're doing this to try to heal a wound of someone told them they were ugly, someone told them they weren't enough. Maybe a parent said, you're ugly, you're this, the kids at school bullying them. So what happens is they decide, I'm going to change that. And they go off and they do that and they glow up. But no amount of glowing up on the external will ever make, you can literally look at them and everything is they've changed it to a sort of perfection, but no amount of that will allow for, they don't feel peaceful. They never feel good enough because we haven't addressed what's going on the inside. So if I were to work with one of them, and I've worked with a lot of people on a lot of different things, I won't name many names, but if I go in there and work with people, the first thing we do is we go back, let's look at this first place where someone told you you were ugly, i.e. you weren't enough. There was something inherently wrong with you. It goes back to what we said, and this is the theme of our talk today, is if we're walking around thinking there's something inherently wrong with us, I'm too skinny, I'm too fat, I'm too ugly, sometimes I see people and they are so beautiful, like just physically, they haven't done anything to themselves, but they're so beautiful that they actually feel awkward about because they get so much attention because their look happens to be appealing in our society today, that you can see that they're like this with it. They can't own the attention being given to them. And sometimes they'll even change themselves. They'll do something really radical to their look because they're like, don't look at me because you make me too uncomfortable, because they haven't been able to own the internal here. So let's go back to your question. When we can begin to own who we are, authentically own who we are, the self of who we are, own every aspect of that, then what happens is that we raise our consciousness. When we clear all this stuff, we elevate our awareness and consciousness. Once we do that, there are no coping mechanisms. People are always shocked. You don't drink, Dr. Elizabeth. You don't do that. You don't eat bad foods. I don't do these things because those are coping mechanisms. If you do the internal work, you're not going to be drawn to those coping mechanisms because you don't need those coping mechanisms, because you do. And listen, I do this work every day. I do this work every single day. I do it with my clients and I do it with myself. And I'll hit a picture. I know I'll hit a picture. Something will come up for me and I'll hit a picture and I can feel it. And I'm like, oh, I need to clear this shit. Something's up for me. But then what happens is, because I've honed a great deal of awareness and consciousness, I'm able to catch, oh, something's off here. I'm hooked in something. Something's amiss here. Let me go in, let me clear it, let me release it, and so I can go about my merry way. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense. And it's a very good way to go about it. I like it because it's positive, and it's empowering. Instead of saying,
exactly. Instead of saying, because a lot of times what happens with people is, if you think you have to fight your ego, we should talk for a second about fight energy.
Mm-hmm.
If we're in fight energy, fighting against something, we can't fight against something and move towards something else.
Mm-hmm.
You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Can't love and fear can't live and exist in the same space. So what we have to do, so let's say somebody wants more. What does your audience usually want more of? Health, wealth, love, or better career?
I mean, I would hope help. I would hope.
Let's use health then. Let's use that as
Yeah.
well, let's say somebody's wanting to be healthier, but they're in a state of fighting against what is in the arena of their health. They're not getting better anytime soon, are they? Boom, 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 boom. Let's use money, same thing. Fighting against, I don't have enough, I don't have enough, I don't have enough, I don't have enough. How can you possibly bring in more when you're vibrating? Remember, we talked about where we vibrate from. If we're vibrating and I'm not enough of anything or fighting against what is, there's no amount of what we want being able to be invited in. So the first thing we want to do is to begin to cultivate enough awareness. And maybe even if a couple of people listening to this, I'm hoping a lot of people listening to it, somehow, in their soul,
resonate. Yeah.
That resonates with me. So let me begin to let go of that fight. So how do we do that? I want to give them a lesson. I'd like to give them something for listening to us and for being here today. So fighting against, let's say it's a dis-ease in the body, or let's say it's weight in the body. Fighting against. The more they fight, let's just say it's weight in the body. The more they fight against that, what happens is now all those coping mechanisms, which guess what? If someone's fighting against weight in their body, I guarantee you one of their top coping mechanisms is probably going to be food. And then maybe alcohol after that. But for sure, food's going to be one of their coping mechanisms. It's why they, a lot of times they're in and not the ideal size, shape, and form they want to be in. So the more they fight against that, the more badly they feel about themselves, the more that they want to use the coping mechanisms, the more they spiral out. So one of the tools we can do is you take a deep breath in and you say, what if for this moment, I could let go of the boxing gloves, take off the boxing gloves and let it go. And then if they can, for this moment, they can say, instead of fighting against, I hate that I have this extra weight. I hate that I feel like all that energy, they can begin to say, I see myself as my ideal. And I begin to love myself where I'm at. And as I love myself where I'm at, I'm going to love giving myself better nourishment. If they do that for a day, they're going to wake up feeling better. And this morning, I'm going to wake up, I feel better. Let me love myself into better nourishment. Let me love myself into going for a walk. Let me love myself into, and as they're walking, let's say now they're going to walk. I do this in the gym swear to God, every single day I do this in the gym. I do my mantras. I love and believe in myself completely. I see what I want. I see where I'm going. It's like taking a bath or a shower. We can't go, oh, I took a shower a month ago. I should be good. Stinky if you do that. So here we have to do it every single day. So now they went from being here and all this hate and self-loathing and focusing on what they don't have. One healthy choice. I'm just going to choose to put my focus and attention on where I do want to go. And let go of discouragement as it comes in. I forgive myself and I let go and I keep going the next step and the next day. After the first month, they're going to go, I feel a difference. Wow. And that the hardest part's actually in the beginning. Once you start feeling a difference, then other people, oh, wow, you look good. Now you're getting flooded with all this good feelings. And then, of course, what happens? The more the good feelings, the more you want to make good choices. So all we have to do is trick ourselves in the beginning into feeling good enough. Then once we get a couple of days, a couple of weeks, a couple of months down the road, it's easy. So what I want to give people is you put your focus and attention on what you want. People have heard this a billion times, but people don't realize, because most people are unconscious, they don't realize their focus and attention isn't on what they want. They think by being in that fight energy that their focus and attention's on what they want, but it's on the opposite. So it's giving them more of what they don't want. So if they if health and wealth is the thing people come to you most for, we're just going to invite them. We're going to say, okay, for today, I give myself, I'm giving them a mantra. I give myself permission to own better health. I give myself permission to put my attention on getting healthier. In this moment, I give myself permission to put myself in the direction of one healthy choice. And then when you do that healthy choice, you do what you do for a little kid. Biggie girl, biggie boy, good girl, that's great. You want to, and as silly as that sounds, you want to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, this is amazing. Congratulations. You put your left hand on your heart, you put your right hand on your tummy, and you take a breath and you say, so I'll use myself as an example. Oh, Elizabeth, I'm really proud of you for this. Congratulations. That's really good. Keep going. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. And then you keep, can you feel the energy of that?
Yeah. It's high vibration.
And then what you do is you put yourself around other people who are vibrating at that higher frequency as much as possible. Because otherwise what happens, watch this poor person, let's just say they want to lose 20 pounds. Let's just make it easy. They want to release 20 pounds. And they've been struggling with it for a long time. And because if they do that, they know they'll be healthier. So let's say they do their first day. But then let's say they go back to the negative friend that they have. And the friend says, you doing that? So stupid. You're never going to lose. Let's just say it's 40. But you're never going to lose that 40 pounds. Who are you kidding? Who are you joking? Forget it. Here. And then they grab the beer. Here. Have this, have this glass of wine. Have this beer with me. Here. Just eat these cookies with me. You're never going to get there anyway. Why are you even bothering? Just forget it. And whereas if you have a friend who says, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you. And let's say the friend's really healthy and the friend says, you know what? I'm going to do this with you. Tomorrow, let's both go get juices. Tomorrow, let's both go to the gym. Tomorrow, let's both do this.
Yeah.
Then you get another friend. And now you got 3 friends. So today, we're all going to go get juices. Today, we're all going to cheer each other on.
Yeah. You definitely need a community. One of the things that I see my clients struggle a lot with if they are not managing to get healthier is their support system. And I always say to them, the first thing you have to ask yourself is your why. And the second thing is who are your cheerleaders and who are your roadblocks? Because we all have them. And you have to agree, you have to be honest about, even it could be your husband, right? There's your roadblock and you have to be honest about it. And then you have to see, how am I going to go around this roadblock? Because I want to have cheerleaders. So that I can succeed, because a lot of them, when they don't succeed, is because they allow the roadblock to really stop them and overpower them. Be like, I don't want to eat like you, so what are you gonna do about it?
And you know what a lot of that is? They don't have
self-love.
They don't have enough self-love to think they can get a better person in their life.
Yeah.
When we clear that, when we clear those false beliefs, which is what I do with people, I clear that out of the way for them. Then all they have to do is it's the first chapter of my book, it's choice. If you can have the courage and the willingness to choose, what happens as you choose one day, it puts you, we talked about this last time, it puts you on a different trajectory. So then tomorrow it gets easier to choose. And the next day it gets easier to choose. And the next day it gets easier to choose. And the next day it gets easier. Before you know, you have the courage to say, to this person who's the roadblock, I love you. And this is where I'm going. And I'm going to go this way. You're welcome to join me. And I would love to have you, but I'm going this way. And if you don't want to go, that's fine. But then there's going to be a separation of our energies, because I'm choosing me and I know I deserve to have a better life. But it comes back to all those false beliefs. That's why this work I do is so important. And I love it so much. Is when we can clear that, the sky's the limit. We can manifest everything we want when we clear all that.
Absolutely.
Really powerful, so empowering. So I think it's the willingness and then the courage to choose better for yourself. Small changes. I say this all the time. Small changes equal miraculous results. You don't have to choose. In fact, I would prefer you don't choose the big thing. It's going to blow you out. Make the small choice. Get up in the morning and just take the juice, because the juice is it's like you're not gonna have a cigarette and a juice. So if you want to smoke it, go have a juice, and the juice and then the cigarette and the gym's not going to go together. Rarely do you see somebody. Once in a while I'll see it, but rarely are you going to see someone smoking outside the gym. They're smoking outside the bar, and then they go back and have another drink, but they're not smoking outside the gym.
Yeah.
So you make that one small choice, and that propels you in a really positive direction.
Absolutely. Really. And in terms of, a lot of people will look at you and think, wow, how do you look so amazing? So obviously we talked about all the important groundwork that you do, but in terms of food, what is your diet like?
It's a really, really good question. So let me start with, I'll start by prefacing, I'm pretty far on this side of healthy. If this is In-N-Out Burger, I don't want to pick on anybody in particular, but all the junk foods over here, I'm really pretty much over here. And so I think in terms, when I make my food choices, again, it's a choice. What I do is I think in terms of nutrient-dense food. So I don't like labels. In fact, this makes me insane. People ask me, are you vegan, Dr. Elizabeth? Are you vegan? And I think what I see, and I know this because they tell me, they think if I say that I'm vegan, if they just go eat vegan food, they're going to look like this. That's not the case at all. Most of the vegan food out there is incredibly unhealthy. Vegan sausage, you might as well just put that down the toilet right now and flush. That's terrible for you. There's chemicals in there. There's very bad, very, very bad for you. So I don't recommend listening to the labels. I don't recommend doing that. If you're going to put something in your mouth, I recommend that you look at, what am I putting in? Best is fresh foods. Best is fresh grown foods. If you take some fresh organic kale, let's say, and spinach and parsley and a hunk of organic ginger root and an apple, if you put that into a juicer, and a really nice juicer, and you drink that, your body's going to begin to feel alive. Then what happens is, when your body begins to feel alive, you're going to feel more conscious. You're going to make more conscious choices. You're going to start the awareness process. Then you're going to start you decide, maybe I should do this healing work. Maybe I should do some of this stuff. And then it just sets you in the right direction. So one choice like that, of putting these living foods into your body, is amazing. You don't have to, so let me start with what I eat, and then we'll talk about it for other people. So I wake up in the morning and I'll have a celery juice. I think that's very cleansing and very amazing. And I'll have that. Then I'll have and I can hear people right now. I can see it. That's great, Dr. Elizabeth. But remember, I've been doing this for a half a century almost. I've been doing this a really, really long time. And I love this analogy. I'm going to give everybody this analogy, because I can see people are like, I lost half the people right there. When I just said what I start with, they're like, oh, hell, I'm not doing that.
I don't know. On this channel, I think people are pretty much in the celery juice.
That's true. Okay. I apologize on this channel. I was thinking the bulk of the people who are watching it, not your channel, but a lot of other people will watch your podcast, not just your whole. I didn't mean to offend your whole family. I'm not talking your channel. I'm talking about the average person that's actually watching this on YouTube or on wherever you plan to put it. It's like, So I want everybody to think about this. If I had 2 free first-class tickets to go anywhere in the world you want to go, anywhere, already paid for, and 5-star accommodations for 2 weeks, all of your responsibilities are paid for. All you have to do is go home, pack your suitcase, in the next 6 hours, pack everything up, get yourself to the airport closest to whoever is watching this, you. That's the metaphor for our ideal life and our ideal health, right? The ideal. If that's the case, and those tickets are waiting for us, are we going to get in our car and drive the opposite direction of the airport, or stop off at In-N-Out Burger for some junk? We're going to pack our suitcase as fast as we can, and we're going to get our asses to the airport early to make sure that we get these tickets when we get on the airplane, right?
Yeah.
For me, especially at 64 years young, if perfect ideal health is at that airport for me with those tickets waiting, I am going to wake up in the morning and I'm going to do everything in my power to go in the direction of health. Because especially at 64, but really at any age, if I go in this direction, it's only taking me from where I really, really, really want to go. And I don't just mean in the area of what I eat, I mean in the area of every area of health, wealth, love, and career and perfect self-expression, everything. Why would I even go 1 millimeter in that direction when what I really want to do is go in this direction?
Yeah.
And how I think in terms of that's the metaphor for my life.
Yeah.
How I do my healings, how I do like everything. So that's why when I wake up in the morning, I'm going to load my body with as much nutrition as possible. So I have the celery juice. I have a parsley, kale. Here, this is one of the ones that I buy at my health store. So we're getting organic apples, celery, ginger, kale, parsley, mint, spinach, and a big. Then I'll have one of those, and I'll usually have that while I'm taking care of my morning clients. And then I have a superfood smoothie, and in the superfood smoothie is chlorella, spirulina, a scoop of super greens, a scoop of raw green protein powder, spinach, kale. Can you imagine how much greens I've had by 10 a.m. just drinking the juices? Like just between, I wake up around 5, 6. So between 6 and 10 a.m. when I go to my gym and have my gym workout, I've drank more nutrient dense foods than most people have in a week.
Yeah.
Maybe in a month. And I have that loaded up in my whole body. Spirulina and chlorella have more protein per capita than a slice of beef does. Yeah. So like, where do you get your protein? Well, here's where I get it. And then I have my fruits in there and my veggies in there, and I mix up that in that smoothie. Then I have that. Then I go to the gym. Then I come back, and I'm usually pretty hungry after my gym workout. So I'll either drink a big smoothie, or I'll have a big wrap, or I'll have a big salad. And then I'll eat. I only eat till around 6 o'clock at night. So I'll have probably, I balance between wraps and salads and things like that. But again, all nutrient dense. I also make these really amazing, they're like these, I guess you'd call them like health bars, but they're all natural, and they're healthy, and they're amazing. So I'll have some of those. Sometimes I'll put some of those in my purse when I'm tootling about. So I fuel up my body, and then come 6, I really don't have anything else so for 12 hours, this is how I like to fast. I don't believe in fasting in the morning. I'm going to tell you why in a minute. I like to fast from 6 p.m. till I wake up 6 o'clock in the morning. Then I give myself nourishment right away because my tank is empty, right? I don't eat a lot. So probably people are kind of in their head adding up what I eat, and they're going, she doesn't eat very much. I'm going to tell you right now, save the time. I don't eat a lot. I really don't. But I really believe that we don't need that much quantity of food. We need quality of food. And I don't know if we talked about it last time, but I did a video on this on YouTube. I do 3 things that are really, really important. If I'm eating something, when I'm drinking something, it's just easy. And I drink most of my nutrition. That's where I get most, because I can drink more than I can eat. Yeah. And I'm not a big eater anyway, so that's how I like to do it. But when I eat, I take a small bowl or a small plate. And for people who are wanting to release weight or just be healthier, there's 3 things you do. So first, you pick half the amount of food you normally would eat, because most people way, way, way overeat. You make it in a small plate. That's the second thing. So you eat half what you normally do. You put it on a smaller, half the size plate, sit down and have that. And then the third thing I do, always, 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 and my body's just trained for this. And I think this is the biggest, they take the secret, that's the biggest secret in the world. I stop before I'm full. Most people don't stop before they're full. They're eating unconsciously, and they're eating until they're full. Then what happens is those sensors sitting on the top of the stomach don't register till 20 minutes afterwards. So now 20 minutes later, you're like, oh my God, I'm so full. Oh, I ate too much. That's a phrase you'll never hear coming out of my mouth. Oh, I ate too much. I feel so bad when people say, oh God, I ate too much. I'm so full. It's such a horrible feeling, and there's nothing you can do about it. And what happens when you eat too much? Now you have lethargy, right? So now if you eat just a little bit, especially in the Northern Hemisphere, summer's coming along, you eat just a little bit around 6 o'clock at night. If your schedule allows, you can adjust how you need, but let's say around that. Now, most of the places in the Northern Hemisphere, it's light till 7:30, 8 o'clock, sometimes 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. Go out, go for a walk with your beloved, go swimming, go play tennis, go do an activity. Now you've really gotten yourself, you've done some really wonderful exercise, you've gotten yourself alive and you put the food to work. Then don't eat anything before you go home. A lot of times I go out dancing, go home, go to sleep, talk about we even talked about sleep. Next time we'll have to talk about sleep, because sleep is a really powerful thing. Mm-hmm. You will get the most delicious, juicy sleep when you do this. You'll sleep like a baby. Yeah. Now you wake up totally refreshed. And again, you're going to feel so much better. It's that upward spiraling cycle of expansion. So these are all the techniques you can use to put yourself on a path of expansion, doing all these things. So that's how I eat, and that's how I look at food as nutrient. I don't look at food as comfort. I don't look at food as anything other than that will give me some good nutrition. Let me have that. I don't eat except if my body needs fuel. I don't eat if I'm upset. I don't eat, like, I don't go, oh, it's lunchtime, I need to eat. I don't go, oh, it's breakfast. I wake up and I'm hungry. I want my juices because my body's been in a state of fasting for quite some time, and my body wants, it's like going to the gas station and plugging up, or if you're an electric car, plugging your car in. I want that fuel. So I only eat something if I want fuel. I think in terms of fueling my body. Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. And I like you, I like, there's a lot of talk about intermittent fasting. So there's a lot of controversy about it too. There's a lot of discussion, but I mean, we all intermittent fast while we sleep, right?
Exactly.
The issue is that people have started eating later and later. So they go to bed with a full stomach, which is not ideal. But ideally what you do is exactly like, I like to eat early and then sleep overnight. But I mean, for me, the morning, I don't actually try and not eat. As just said, by the time I get to have something, it gets a bit late, like 10 o'clock. But that's because I have my water in the morning, big glass of water with lemon. And then I do my practice. And by the time I'm done my practice, I have to feed the dog. And they take a lot of time. And then by the time I get to eat, it's just late. But I don't feel like I'm hungry when I wake up. So my body's used to that. But if they were like on Sunday, I take a day off completely from doing anything other than relaxing. And if I'm hungry, I just eat, and it's okay. I give my permission to my body to do it. Yeah, but for me, it's important to go to bed with an empty stomach. So, and like you, that's the fasting time.
It's completely fasting time. And the thing I don't like about the intermittent fasting, it's like, if you think of the clock here, if you push the time back when you're going to eat, let's say till 2 o'clock in the afternoon, now what happens, now if you can really keep to that time, if you're stopping eating I just see it for me, I think a lot of this has to do with how much are you fueling your body? Like, I like to keep my body lean, and I don't overeat at all. I keep myself, I run my energy in a certain way so it works for me. But I think it's not good if you're starting at 2 o'clock and you don't stop eating till 10 o'clock. Now you're not going to see any good results from that, because now, again, you're going, like you say, you're going to bed on a full stomach and your body's not sleeping well. It's not digesting well. You wake up. And a lot of times what happens is people will wake up hungry because the body hasn't properly even digested the food. So you're going to get that gurgling feeling and that feeling of, oh, it's like a terrible feeling in your tummy. It's not good. I don't never have that. And so if you just can feel your body in a way, and the more aware we get, the more awareness we have, the easier it is. I hear people talk about intuitive eating, but how the hell are you going to intuitive eat when you're not tapped into your intuition?
Exactly.
My intuition's telling me I need a donut right now.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, no, that's not it.
Yeah. So, but the more you get clear and clean, then you can actually tap into that. It's very helpful.
Yeah, I think you actually touched on this with this example. A lot of people also have to have small portions because they're eating things that are perhaps not, and you don't if they don't want to change the diet necessarily, they want to
Right.
just change the amounts. Then yeah, they have to be very careful because a lot of the food that they're having it's really calorie heavy, and they're
Mhm.
not gonna even use those calories. I think
Yeah.
it's a little bit different when, like you eat and like I eat. For example, I will have a big salad, but that's probably the most. I mean, fruit. I have fruit all day long, so that's
Right.
definitely calorie dense. But I know my body runs on that, so I
Yeah.
never have a problem. And I then will have a salad. I mean, I don't do well with grains anymore, so I my body told me I don't like it. I'm
I
listening.
don't eat grains at all. I don't.
Yeah, I had to let it go.
If I look at nutrition, because you
Yeah,
remember it's either or. If you're putting this in your body, you're not putting this in your body. And
yeah,
if we want to go over here to the airport to get our first class tickets,
yeah.
why would we go in this direction? Because people ask me that. I'm glad you brought this up. People say, "Do you eat grains, Dr. Elizabeth?" I don't, just because if I could eat grains, so if we look at this, if I could eat grains or I could eat greens, I'm going to eat greens because
Mm,
greens are way better for me than grains. And if
yeah,
I'm really going in this direction, I want to do everything in my power to go as far in this direction as possible. But
yeah,
that's
and especially as women and with our changing hormones. Like again, you know, you're representing, you're embodying exactly what I think that women and menopause should look like, which is we don't have to get fat, we don't have to get heavy, we don't have to be moody, we don't have to have a terrible life. We actually can go through the transition into menopause in a perfect way, and we can have a beautiful menopause after. And the opportunity is you don't have your period anymore, so you don't have to worry about anything.
so I would like to talk about a subject. It's quite controversial, but I'd like to talk about it. I think it's really,
Yeah.
really important. I want to talk about bioidentical hormones because I
Mm,
think it's really, are you okay if we talk about this?
absolutely.
Perfect. Because what happens, and here's what I really, we're going to talk for a minute about this particular sector of life and of women. And men go through menopause as well. And
Mm,
there are things that men can do as well to go through it. It's different because they just start losing their testosterone. So there's different ways to deal with that and replace
yeah.
that. But every physical body is different.
Mm.
I have a friend, and literally she went through menopause, and it was like it was literally a blip on the radar screen, and she was fine. Like there was just nothing. For me, I call it in my book the menopause monster, and she was a bitch with a grudge. Let me tell you, she was not nice at all. And I wasn't prepared because my poor mommy had a hysterectomy when she was only in her 40s. She never went through menopause. She went through, it was horrible because what happened was she had a whole bunch of other things
Yeah.
that happened because of that. But if you look at the studies, and I've done a tremendous amount of research on this, I'm on the bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. And some people are like, oh, you're cheating, or she's on HRT, or she. Of course I am. My body is no longer producing the essential sex hormones necessary for me to stay vital and healthy and strong. And so there's nothing wrong with naturally replacing those. Every person's body is different in how they go through that. But mine, like I said, my menopause, it hit me out of the blue at 47 and a half, like a ton of bricks. And I talk about the experience in my book, and I call it the menopause monster for a reason. And once I went on the bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, it was amazing. My
Mm.
body just stayed exactly like how it was before, and it was fabulous. Except I could say, you can choose to have your period or not have your period with hormone replacement therapy, depending upon what you want. But my doctor thought it was best for me not to, so I don't. And that's amazing. The whole thing's amazing. But you have to begin to, for people, a lot of people have judgments. I talked in, I can't remember if it was Jillian's interview or if it was Eva. Eva Loves Raw interviewed me, and Jillian interviewed me recently. And we talked about this. There's a lot of judgment. People sit in a lot of judgment about different things.
Mm.
And first of all, you don't know that person. You don't know what they're going through. So it's like they made a choice, and hopefully an intelligent choice, based on what they knew what was best for them and what does work best for their body. And
Mm.
that's really important to do. And so we have to know our bodies, and we have to let go of judgment about things. And what, like, this whole idea that if you're on hormone replacement therapy, you're cheating in some way, like, to me, that just seems ridiculous. And it really shames a lot of women into not doing something that could be really healthy and vibrant and wonderful for them. And it's like, why not? Why not? Why not? It's like, that's like saying, I'm not going to put sunscreen on because God didn't make sunscreen. God didn't give me the sunscreen. I'm just going to, my skin was meant to be burned by the sun. Why? Put the sunscreen on. It's just like, well, why not? Right? It just doesn't make any sense to me. So I fully believe in hormone replacement therapy. I believe in balancing out your hormones. There's a lot of healthy things that you can do. There's a lot of really wonderful, there's a wonderful peptides, especially over where you guys are in Europe. Peptides are very, very big, and they're wonderful. Peptides are really, there's a lot of wonderful information about peptides out there, and we can talk more about that if you'd like. But I think peptides are amino acids, and they're healthy amino acids that you put in your body. Amino acids are natural to the body. They're the building blocks of protein. So why not put them into your body in a healthy and natural way? It just, they are healthy and natural when you take them. So it just makes a lot of sense to do this. So I believe, and I hope that women who are on this can listen. And if they decide that this is important for them and good for them, if they're already, and a lot of women who are having babies in their late 30s and early 40s, a lot of times get kicked into early menopause after having a child. A lot of people have that. And then they're filled with a lot of shame because now they had the baby at a later stage in life, which is a lot harder on the body to bounce back. If a 20-year-old, for the most part, has a baby, she's bouncing right back. And so one thing I really want to mention here is if you're on social media and you see a 20-something influencer going, look, I just had a baby and look at my stomach and look at how fabulous I am. She's 12.
Yeah.
She's 12.
That's what I say.
She's still in her infallible years, of course, and some don't bounce back. But, and I'm being slightly tongue-in-cheek here, but of course she bounced back because she had a baby at a very early age. Of course you're going to bounce back. But let's say a woman who is in her late 30s to early 40s, and let's say she either decides to have a baby, she wants a baby, she's always wanted a baby, and she decides to have it, or let's say she just met the love of her life, and together they want to have a family together. There's no shame in that. She should be able to have that, and if her body wants to have that, she can do that. And sometimes it can be a little bit more difficult, not always, and we don't want to put that out for people, but if it is, we have to realize that what she just went through, and I want to cheer her on so she doesn't have shame about this. She went through a baby at a later stage in life. It was tougher on her body. Let's just say it was. She's now trying to bounce back from a lot of things. Maybe even emotionally, she's struggling with a lot of things. And then on top of it, the kicker is it kicked her into early menopause. That's a lot for that poor woman and she has a baby on top of it. That's a lot for someone to be dealing with. So if she wants the assistance of hormone replacement therapy, well, first I would suggest go to the doctor, go to an aware doctor if you can find, who's going to look at your hormones, balance you out. If you're in LA, let me know. I have a couple of fabulous ones you can go to. Go to the doctor. And then what you can do is you can figure out where you're at with your emotions, especially because a lot of women deal with postpartum depression. It's a real thing. With that, there's a way to be able to navigate that, and then you can navigate the physical body as well. But there's no reason why a woman who has a baby and then gets kicked into early menopause, shouldn't be a death sentence of her body. She can have her body. If a woman wants her body back, she's going to have her body back. And a man as well. And there's a lot of shaming around, oh, well, you did this to your body, you did that to. If somebody is already clean, clear, and healthy here, and in their own awareness, they've done the healing necessary. They've healed all the wounds. They're not into a glow up just because I'll show them and they're going to do. They're in here. If they choose to do something for their body at a certain point, especially if a woman has had a bunch of children and things like that. To me, my feeling is there shouldn't be a shame attached to that, but it's her body. She has the choice to do what she wants, and with their body, if they're not doing it for the wrong reasons. If they're already healthy in their own center, and then they're clear, and then they make the decision based on, yes, I like my body and I want my body to be healthy and strong. And then they do the hormone replacement therapy. It's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I think we have to understand where our body's at, as you said, testing what we can,
Right.
see what we have, we have to also acknowledge what have we done for our body up to now? Can we do better and change habits that don't serve us? And then allow to experiment. Sometimes taking that bioidentical hormone can be the difference between hitting the wall with depression, not wanting to get out of bed, and having a life. And I'm sorry, but you're right. They have to have a life.
And if you're eating healthy, like for me, I was already, when I hit menopause, there was no changing my diet. My diet literally as perfect as your diet can be. There was no changing the diet. There was no changing my exercise. So that's when it wasn't like I jumped straight to that. I tried the supplements. I tried all that stuff. It was like throwing pennies in the Grand Canyon for me. It's the level of the way menopause was, hit me. And I think part of that was, well, I don't want to make a statement like that. It just whatever it was for me, it was. And so after all those other things, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do, and it was amazing. I'm thrilled I did it. But every woman, like every person, man or woman, gets to make their own decision. But the more aware we are and tapped into our intuition, the easier we can make that decision. And the more we don't allow the shame of other people or the noise of the world to impact us. And we just get to make the decision ourselves.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're having McDonald's? We're not going to talk about hormones here. Okay.
Exactly. That's 1,000% correct.
Right.
But if you're already eating so healthy and clean and you're doing everything else and you want to do that, then that's perfectly fine. So we want to just clear the shame.
Absolutely. Well, I can't wait to read your book. It's on its way here. I'm so excited.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too.
Tell me that.
Oh no, I ordered it with. So I had very bad news last week. Book Depository, it's closing, and it was the best way for me to get all my books in English without having to pay customs within 2-3 weeks. And now they're closing, and I'm just so bummed because they're owned by Amazon, so I don't know what Bezos is doing with his money, but I guess I ordered it just on time, so it's on its way here.
Oh, that's so good! I'm glad. Oh, I'm happy to hear that. Oh, I'm really, really happy to hear that. Oh,
yeah, so I can't wait to read the chapter. I'm gonna definitely enjoy it. Well, all of it really, but.
Yeah, you will really like it. Oh, I'm very excited to hear that. That makes me very, very happy.
You're welcome. I'll let you know.
Is there another question? Is there any other question you want to ask?
No, I think I really wanted to just bring it home for people to understand what we were talking about last time, but also bring it home to that self-confidence, self-love is really your primary energy source in a way, because that's how we raise our vibration. And I love the way that you work, and I would love for you to share actually what you do exactly so that people can reach out to you and work with you.
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you for that invitation. I appreciate that. So what I do is I work with people, and I work with them on several. It's a multi-dimensional approach. So we work on clearing out the false beliefs and the negative programming, and also clearing the coping mechanisms that have been developed because of the false beliefs. So let's say someone's struggling with, and a lot of times so for people who might be interested in working with me, you don't have to know what those what those false beliefs or negative programming even is. You just might not feel like something's not working in your life. I'm not flourishing. So people who come to work with me, they may not be flourishing in one of the 4 areas of life: health, wealth, love, or in their career, their self-expression. And so what we do is I'm able, because of the intuition training that I have and the clairvoyance training I have, I'm able to go in, connect in with the person's soul with their permission, And as we do that in their willingness, what I do is I go in and we look to see where the blocks are, and then I'm able to clear them in present time. So literally in the sessions as we're working, it's not like, oh, that'll clear a year from now. It's literally, oh, there it is. Let me move it out. There it is. Which is really amazing. So
Sorry.
that's okay. So we clear it in present time. We literally, oh, that's sitting there. And whatever energy we clear in each session is gone for good. And the beautiful part, I said this in the interview, but I'll say it again here. It's not even our energy. It was thrown into our space, either by well-meaning parents or not so well-meaning parents, by the bullies at school, by teachers, by siblings, by society, by the messaging on TV. So if someone just would like more health, more wealth, more love, or, more flourishing in their self-expression and career, this work gives them that. So we go in there. So we clear out what doesn't belong, clear the coping mechanisms, which is really great because some of these coping mechanisms, from smoking to drinking to drugs to sex, alcohol, now when I say sex, I don't mean sacred sex. I don't mean intimacy. I mean as a coping mechanism. So all of these things, as we clear these out, what happens is there's no pull to do that. You just don't want to do it anymore. You don't want to have the bad food. You don't want the alcohol anymore. You literally, what happens is that we're giving you a 2.0 upgrade on your life. And as we're doing this, we're also expanding your awareness, expanding your consciousness, and deepening your own intuition. So the work also deepens your intuition. So also the other thing besides clearing out energy that doesn't belong to you, we're sourcing energy. So I'm teaching you actually how to have more energy. A lot of times people come to me, Dr. Elizabeth, you have so much energy. How come I don't have more energy? So I teach them in the work I do how to have more energy. So in a nutshell, that's what we do.
Beautiful. I love that. You have the best job.
I love it because it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful gift to give to people. And I love coming here. I also give a lot of talks. I get invited to give a lot of talks, which I really love doing that as well. I love doing talks. I love coming on the podcast, and I really love working with people. I have groups, I have privates where I work with people privately, but it's so life-changing. And I know that from my own self. It's changed my life. So as I know it's changed my life, it's changed a lot of other people's lives as well.
Yeah, no, I imagine it. I mean, just this conversation, I thought, last time and this time, it just, it made me think about a few things as well. And this is what it's all about, and so imagining having you as a guide, because we all need it, to have someone the cheerleader, right, to help us on. It's so powerful, because sometimes the issue is that we are creature of habits a lot of the time. So we can get really in that loop ourselves. And then we just need that shining light saying, hey, you know what? There's a door here. If you want to exit, and you can try it. And then with guidance, you can just flourish and get out of your own way.
Well, it's interesting you say it, because a lot of times what happens is that people do try, but the false beliefs and negative programming is like a glass ceiling that they bump up against, and it's the blind spot. They can't see it. So when I go in there, I'm able to see it. And as I see it and clear it, they're like, oh my God, I feel a million times better. And that's really, really helpful when they have that. And it's, of course, like you say, it's so rewarding. It's like just really beautiful.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Elizabeth. It was such a pleasure to have you on the show. And I'm really happy we connected. And, I just know we're going to do this forever.
Oh, we're connected. We're connected now for good. I'm going to come visit you.
Yes.
For sure. I'm going to come visit you. And I actually would love to do more of these with you. In fact, perfect. I already Spirit said, oh, we can talk about this. We can talk about this. So there's definitely in a couple months, we'll definitely do more. I would love to do that because it's such a joy coming in.
Anytime. I couldn't be happier too.
Love that.
Thank you so much.
Carissima. It was so nice to see you. And thank you for having me. Thank you for reaching out to me and inviting me. You have such beautiful energy and you're such a bright light. And I really
thank you.
Want to validate and acknowledge what you're doing. It's really important. C'est très important. And it's really beautiful and special. And you're doing it so magnificently. It's really beautiful.
Oh, merci beaucoup. C'est un plaisir de t'avoir ici. Bisous. Thank you so much.
Ciao.
Bye. Thank you so much, Dr. Elizabeth, and thank you everyone for staying on to this wonderful episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. And guys, if you are listening to this on Spotify, go on to on YouTube and actually watch the video, because we have a little blooper that we left into the video that was so much fun, and it had to do with the internet not working for us, and it truly, Dr. Elizabeth will explain, but it was such a laugh. So anyway, if you have enjoyed this, please make sure that you rate and share, tell your friends, and also check out Dr. Elizabeth's work in the show notes. Her book Skinny Dipping in the Fountains of Youth is beautiful, and just as she is, and so full of nuggets, and I think you'll love it. All right guys, I'll see you soon. Bye.